right. Episode 10. Here we are.
DS. Yeah, man, it's episode 10, y'all. Welcome back. Nice to be back with you guys. We're going to just dig right in on this one. We're going to talk about some stuff that everybody else has been having some discussions about. We're going to give you guys some different insights on it from our perspective, try to give you some, for those of you who don't really know much about them, a little bit of education on what they are. We're talking about tariffs, right? And from what I understand about tariffs is they are an economic tool that when they are used, they become part of a political instrument as well.
Yeah, I don't know much about tariffs. I mean, where I hear about them, I'm seeing the news all over the place, and it seems to be a very, very hot topic.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a hot topic because of the impact that they have. Like, you know, on there's not many people that they don't impact. So
Yeah. Around the world.
Yeah.
So last episode we talked a little bit about globalization and how the world is all kind of working together on a global level, right? And now we're getting into tariffs, which seem to dramatically affect how globalization can and will work.
Right, and that would be another question. Is like, is this something that is going to impede that effort or delay it? More than likely so.
Yeah.
But more than likely, the people that are involved in it think that it's something that should happen. Something that should happen first before, you know, these other efforts go forward for the, how you say, the international picture.
Yeah.
You know?
So what is a tariff?
Okay. A tariff is a tax that is a government-imposed tax on imported goods.
Okay. Government-imposed tax on imported goods.
Yeah.
So something, let's say China
Yeah.
sent a product to America. The government says, okay, we are going to add this tax to the cost of this good.
Yes.
Now,
essentially, you could look at it as, hey, this is the cost of, you're paying the cost of doing business, right? Like of having this access, right? Of having this direct plug, right? That's what they look at it like, right? There's all, you know, they have port, I believe that's what they call port tax.
okay. So who actually pays the tariff? How does it affect the people?
I could be mistaken, but from the way I understood it, the people that actually go to the, you know, the purchasers, right? The purchasers of the stuff that's coming in those containers, they're the ones that are paying the tariffs, not the country, right? So
produce the goods.
It's so like, say for example, China, right? When China sends something over here, us putting tariffs on China's products, it's not making China pay the tariffs. China doesn't pay the tariffs. Our people who picks up their products, they pay the tariffs.
Okay, so the person or the company that picks up the product that was made in China that got shipped over here,
Yeah.
they pay this, let's say it's a 50% tariff, right?
Okay.
The cost of the good. Pay 50% more to the government, which then they need to go, you know, they just bought these goods, they're going to sell them here in America. They're going to have to raise their prices to whoever they sell them to.
I think the way the government kind of looks at it is like, hey, that's our people over there. That's our plug. Like internationally, if it wasn't for us, like none of you would even be able to go over there and make your relationships and do your business. So like, it's a cost of doing business. That's just how they look at it. But again, like, you know, America has changed quite significantly in the last, you know, 60 years, man, where, you know, we were the manufacturing powerhouse in the world.
Yeah.
And
when the Industrial Revolution happened and all
correct.
this.
And then, I don't remember who it was, but one of our presidents decided that they were going to start outsourcing all of the production, right, and the manufacturing in America, and take it to China. And the first thing that we saw was the impact on Detroit. Right, because,
car manufacturers.
Right, Detroit was the biggest car manufacturer, car manufacturing place in the world, and as soon as they got up out of there, wasn't much time went by. Detroit is like one of the most violent places in the country. Detroit is poor, like Detroit is gutter going through it, like Chi-Town, like one of those places. Like, yeah, it needs some jobs for them people. They need some infrastructure there. They need some stuff like that there, and that's why my family is a very strong union family, and like, yeah, we need unions, right? We need to be able to like protect the jobs of the people. Like, a lot of times, it's a sad thing. Business is business, and like when businesses are looking out for businesses, they're definitely not looking out for the interests of the people.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm seeing that. So when tariffs go out, how they affect consumers is price hikes. So consumers will see that a price of something that once was $1 is now $1.25, simply because, well, they added an extra tariff. Now, for that product to be sold to the consumer, it's going to be a higher price because they just added an extra tax on top of it.
And that could happen like literally any day. Every day, any day it can happen in accordance to what was brought in and what that tariff was, right? Hey,
yeah. So
my boy, Fat Joe. Shout out to Fat Joe. Fat Joe, as he says, yesterday's price is not today's price.
He says that?
Yeah, that's Fat Joe's thing. Yesterday's price is not today's price.
What was he talking about in reference to?
Oh man, I don't remember. It could have been anything. It could
like
have been,
some cheap Chinese toy.
It could have been some shoes, because Joe's a shoe man too. Joe's one of the dopest shoe men.
Really?
Yeah, that man's off the chain when it comes to shoes, fashion and shoes. Fat Joe's.
So he's one of those dudes that has
he stay clean, bro.
Closet full, like from top to bottom rows of shoes and all this stuff.
I don't know if he still does, but I know for a while he had ownership in a big, like, badass shoe store in Manhattan.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Like, nah, bro's really locked in on his fashion, bro.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, he definitely is fashionable.
Yeah.
I see him out there.
Yeah, shout out Terror Squad, Fat Joe, Pistol Pete, man. JB, all the boys, man. All that. Yeah.
Wow. So consumers get price hikes. Importers, they see their margins shrink because all of a sudden they were able to buy this good for $1 and sell it for $1.50. Now they're buying it for $1. They're paying 50 cents for the tariff, and now they got to sell it for $2.
Yeah.
Which shows a shrinking margin, right? They make the same amount, but the margin shrunk, right?
Right.
A small business, they get affected by disruptions.
Yes.
So, and by disruptions, what we mean by that is are these goods readily available to be sold? Well, when tariffs are imposed, there's a time frame where are they still shipping the stuff out? Are the purchasers, the importers, are they like, I don't want to do this no more?
That's a very good question, but there's another thing to be considered with that. Another thing that brings impact is the function of the port, the efficiency of the port.
Yeah.
Wherever they're being shipped into. There's something I'd like to share with everybody that I don't know if everybody knows about, but, I go to San Francisco. I live on the other side of the bay. I go over the Bay Bridge. I've been back in California since 2012. Every time, I'm super observant. Every time I go over the Bay Bridge, I look to the left, and I see there's this big lot of cargo ships.
And he's talking about in the bay.
In the bay.
This is not a parking lot, but a parking lot for big
Yeah.
cargo ships.
They're outside
or oil tankers, right?
Well, all of them, but mostly it's cargo ships. But the that area right there is basically right in front of the port of Oakland.
Yeah,
Okay?
totally.
So when I first came back here to California, in 2012, there would be anywhere between 5 to 9 ships that would be sitting out there. Not often on the high end, though. Most of the time, it was a smaller number. They were pretty efficient, getting them ships in, getting them out. You know, these guys are coming from across far all the side of the world through the water. It take them a long time to get here. They need to get offloaded, and they need to go.
Yeah, so they're bringing in the cargo ships stacked like 4 or 5 high, all the different colors, right?
Yes, all that.
You know, and then they have those huge cranes that come over.
Gantry cranes and these other types.
It's magnetized, right?
Yeah.
To grab them and then lift them off, put them into the port, take them off the ship.
So around 2019, when COVID came about, I had noticed, damn, there was literally between like 18 to 22 ships sitting out there in the water the same way.
Okay, so before it was between 5 to 9.
Yeah.
And then when COVID hit, there was like double, triple the amount of ships.
If you looked out there, it was just littered with cargo ships.
Whoa.
On that side, you know, between the bridge and the port.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Well, COVID passed, time went by, and then it was maybe like back down to maybe between 8 to 13, 14. Okay, that's what was normal now.
And you're talking now being 2024, 2025, starting 2025.
Well, last week, I took a drive over there, and when I looked over, to my dismay, would you believe how many ships I saw that were cargo ships?
How many?
0.
Whoa.
There was not one single cargo ship, which for me was immediate cause for concern. This is different, like, not in a good way, because from my understanding, those things that are coming in is what we survive off of here. These are our things, like when those things sit out in the water and they don't get offloaded fast, like they're days behind and all this stuff, we feel inflation locally. They have to charge more for stuff locally because they don't literally know when they're going to be able to get this stuff off this ship.
Yeah.
Or they don't even know the ship's situation.
Yeah, and it
all they know is their stuff is not here on time. So guess what they got to do?
Scarcity thing.
Yeah, exactly. What do they got to do with what's left? Turn up the price on it. You understand? So now we're in this place. I'm sitting out there. I'm like, dang, there's no cargo ships. But when you know what there was? There was a dozen or better oil tankers there. I said to myself, dang, and this is just an assumption, but I said to myself, man, we're really going to start feeling this stuff. Like,
so does that mean the price of oil is going to go down?
Well, in my opinion, what I think is happening, I think they're picking up, those ships are laying in wait to pick up oil from the refinery in Richmond, because if I'm not mistaken, the refinery in Martinez is closing down too. So they're trying to get out as much oil out of our country as possible and sell that stuff up out of the country so we can get some money in, because right now, this trade thing with everything else is, and let's assume that applies to petroleum as well.
Huh.
But those are different goods. That's a different thing. That's a different market. But it's quite a big deal, man.
All right, so getting into this information we put together and some of the history of tariffs, right? There's what's called the Smoot-Hawley Act in 1930. So tariffs have been going on for a long time. This is not just some new thing created by our new president, although some people think it may be. Tariffs have been around for a long time. All the way back to 1930, there was an act that was created because essentially it worsened the Great Depression by inciting global retaliation.
Tariffs existed long before that even. It's just that specific event was a monumental event that people will remember forever, because the Great Depression was already happening.
Yeah.
People were already suffering.
Oh,
People was already starving in the streets. And then these people thought that this was a good idea that was going to fix the problem, and all it did was make everything much worse.
Yeah, so it was signed into law in 1930, was a protectionist trade measure that sharply raised tariffs on over 20,000 imported goods. Its intention was to shield American industries from foreign competition during the onset of the Great Depression, but it ultimately deepened the economic crisis. So over 20 countries retaliated with their own tariffs, causing international trade to drop by over 60%. U.S. exports fell from $5.2 billion in 1929 to $1.7 billion in 1933, contributing to mass unemployment.
The problem that we have here is that because of the party system, right, that there's no alignment. There never is going to be like a mission that's a mission that everybody feels is the same mission that we need to accomplish as a country. Like, it's like either a blind following to a party, or they fall in love with a president, right? And like, when people have a blind following, or this, they're so enamored by a figure, they're less likely to hold those figures accountable. Right?
Yeah, so we spoke about this a few weeks back,
that's
and different
issue.
types of bias.
Yeah, that's our issue that we have here.
It's confirmation bias is what we're talking about, where you have somebody that you're like, oh, I'm idolizing them. So anything they say, you're just going to confirm your thought that they are the greatest.
That's gold. And see, the thing is, it's very interesting. As I said, its intention was to shield American industries from foreign competition. It's quite interesting. There have been some people who wanted to do that. And then obviously there were some people that made the decision that they were going to sell all that stuff to other countries and do the exact opposite. And now we're in a certain position where we're the biggest consumer in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. And our money is being spent elsewhere because we ourselves do not have the manufacturing capabilities. And it will take a very long time to put that in place. That is, it's pretty much unrealistic.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We have some evidence on that, and some information that we could get to. You know, you said something that kind of sticks with me a little bit. You said we are the biggest consumer in the world. But in fact, what I'm kind of hearing is that we're saying we don't necessarily want to buy your goods anymore because we're imposing these tariffs, which makes the price go up, which makes us not want to buy their goods, which could potentially increase the ability for us to create those goods ourselves.
I wouldn't say it would increase the ability. Like, so the idea is
the need.
The
if
need
we're not
for
getting
certain.
the goods,
The need for certain.
Yeah.
But the ability, not so much. So the way to look at it is this: the way that it's looked at by people, without saying any names, is we're gonna make these tariffs so high that people here are not gonna want to pay for this, and people over there are gonna get pissed off because their stuff's not getting bought at a good rate, and we ourselves is going to force us to start doing this manufacturing, right? The sentiment is good. You know what I mean? The intent as well. But you know as I, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. This is a business. This is a business type of venture going on, but there's too many other components that can contribute to its outcome. Like, if it was just us saying, hey, we're going to put these tariffs on. And that's it. Cool. But no, that's not it.
There's a bunch of other stuff
There's a bunch of
happening.
other tariffs that are being put on by other countries, and there's a bunch of other deals that people are making with other people that are potentially going to take customers away from us on our exports.
Let's get into some of these specifics because we're talking about it before we really laid the groundwork.
Yeah.
Right. So in some of this data that we got, you know, we use the internet. Some of it may be perfectly on point. Some of it may be slightly off because we use the internet.
It is the internet.
We did use AI.
No, but it has to be right, though. It comes from the internet.
Oh, yeah. That's how it works.
You know it.
Everything from the internet is true.
You know it.
Right? No clickbait here. That being said, what we gathered, it talks about Trump-era tariffs. And this is like buzzwords, right? One of the reasons that we're doing this story is because, or this podcast episode, is because we know this is a very hot topic. It's something that myself, I don't know anything about. And I'm eager to learn a little bit, educate myself about what's going on as everybody continues to talk about this and says how it's going to affect every single American citizen, and not just American citizen, but everywhere around the world, these tariffs will affect.
Yeah, for us, this is like entry-level education for both of us. I don't know nearly as much as I think I should about this subject matter either, but it's definitely something that I care about people.
There you go.
Right? And I'm an American.
Yeah.
So guess what? I care about the American people too, right? So it's like if something is happening and it's piquing the interest of everyone and it's impacting all of us, we need to lock in on it too and see what's going on.
And us doing this is really us trying to let you guys know, as our listeners, that we're open to learning more about this. You know, something that has happened as we've got this channel going is we've gotten some great comments from our listeners where they've educated us on different things that we didn't fully understand. We read those comments and then we go to work, start learning more. And that's kind of what we're trying to accomplish here in creating the Gambler and the Guardian and some of these topics that we're choosing. 100%. So back to some of these Trump era tariffs. It says that it's increased costs on appliances, steel, and electronics. Said the average price of a washing machine rose by nearly $86 per unit, and that's based on the Federal Reserve. Okay, the estimated cost to American consumers, $1.4 billion per month in increased prices, and that's from the Peterson Institute. So, you know, the Federal Reserve seems like a pretty everybody knows who the Federal Reserve is, given some of this source. And the Peterson Institute, I've never heard of them, but the $1.4 billion per month in increased prices, that seems like a lot.
That's astronomical.
Yeah. And the source of a lot of this is the Brookings Institution, okay?
Well, that's crazy. It's like that 1.4 billion. Yeah, that's being paid by U.S. citizens right there. That's coming out of the pocket of the people.
Yeah,
okay?
An increased amount.
Right.
So
all this wouldn't be a problem, though. Let me just say this: all this wouldn't be a problem if President Trump, if you would just eliminate federal income tax. Probably a lot of people wouldn't feel as strongly about this as they do because they'd have like extra money to like buy some of these more expensive items. So it's just some of you to think about, big dog. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's ask our politicians to remove taxes. Isn't that like a thing that happens?
It's illegal. Federal income tax is illegal.
So why does it happen then?
We were in a horrible place at a different time in history. Our government was in a horrible place, and our government told the people, hey, we're going to start taxing you. It's not going to be forever. This is only going to last a certain amount of time, and they just never stopped.
Oh, so this is like give them an inch, they take a mile?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. We're not taxes. Yeah, he was talking about eliminating taxes, brother, too.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, look that up. Yeah, that's
Maybe we should do an episode on that.
That would be so dope. Eliminate federal income tax, because taxing is something that is done in. It's not something that's supposed to be done in a democracy.
Yeah,
That's something that comes from a monarchy.
Man, since we're on this whole taxes thing, I mean,
we don't have a king.
I see people so fearful related to every year when tax time comes around.
Because they will take everything from you if you do not pay your taxes. They will take all of your stuff of value. They will take it and they will sell and they'll put you in jail. That's what they'll do. They're gonna get their money out of you. They're gonna get that labor up out of you.
Yeah.
They're gonna get however much money per day they get for every person that's locked up. Yeah, they're gonna get all theirs up out of you.
Yeah. So
it's crazy.
This just brings up something,
You're taking people to prison for not paying an illegal tax. This is crazy.